4 terrifying horror stories to keep you up at night. Welcome, dear viewers, to a place where shadows dance and whispers echo with the chilling weight of dread. This is a realm where fear reigns supreme, and tonight we delve deep into the abyss of terror with 4 tales that will cling to your soul. Prepare yourselves, for the veil between reality and nightmare is thin, and the horrors we are about to unveil will leave you questioning the darkness that surrounds you. Tonight, we invite you to confront your deepest fears as we present 4 spine-chilling horror stories that will keep you up at night. The forest stood before them, a brooding wall of ancient trees and shadows thick as ink. A place whispered about in hushed tones by locals, the Whispering Woods held an unsettling reputation for strange occurrences and unexplained disappearances. Our group of friends, young and fueled by a thirst for adventure, paid little heed to the warnings, their laughter echoing through the silent woods as they set up camp. But as the sun began its descent, casting long, eerie fingers of light through the dense canopy, the laughter died down, replaced by an unnerving silence. The air grew heavy, thick with a strange energy that sent shivers down their spines. The once welcoming woods now seemed to press in on them, the rustling of leaves sounding like whispered threats carried on the wind. Then, the whispers began. Faint at first, like the rustling of leaves, they seemed to emanate from the heart of the forest, weaving their way through the trees, circling the campsite. The friends exchanged uneasy glances, their smiles fading into expressions of concern. "Camper, it's just the wind, right? Playing tricks on us?" But as the night deepened, so did the whispers, growing louder, more insistent, morphing into grotesque parodies of their own voices, their deepest fears given a voice. The very trees seemed to contort and writhe, their branches reaching out like skeletal claws, their bark peeled back in places to reveal pulsating, fleshy tendrils. Panic began to set in. The forest was alive, feeding on their terror, growing stronger with each whimper of fear that escaped their lips. They huddled closer around the dying embers of their campfire, the comforting crackle of burning wood swallowed by the oppressive darkness that pressed in on them from all sides. One by one, they disappeared. Lured away by the whispers, their screams swallowed by the insatiable maw of the woods. Each disappearance fueled the terror of the remaining friends, their cries for help met with only the mocking echo of their own voices. The forest reveled in their despair, its hunger growing with each terrified heartbeat. The last remaining survivor, driven to the brink of madness, stumbled through the undergrowth, his eyes wild with terror, the whispers a cacophony of torment in his ears. He ran until his lungs burned, until his legs gave way, collapsing beneath a towering oak, its twisted branches resembling the skeletal fingers of a grasping hand. As the whispers closed in, he realized the horrifying truth. The forest didn't just claim its victims, it absorbed them, their fears, their memories, their very essence becoming a part of its twisted being. And he, the last morsel of fear, was about to join them, his screams forever echoing through the silent, watchful trees. The attic was a tomb of forgotten memories, its air heavy with the scent of dust and decay. Sunbeams filtering through cracks in the boarded-up windows illuminated swirling motes of dust, painting an ethereal scene amidst the discarded relics of a bygone era. It was here, amongst the cobwebs and shadows, that Elias, a historian with an insatiable thirst for the past, made his discovery. A phonograph, its wooden casing scratched and worn, sat nestled within a dusty trunk, a single record resting on its turntable. Intrigued, Elias carefully lifted the record, its surface etched with grooves that spoke of countless stories waiting to be told. He blew away the dust, his fingers tracing the faded inscription on its label. "Echoes of the forgotten, historian. What secrets do you hold, I wonder?" As he wound up the phonograph and gently placed the needle on the record's edge, a sense of anticipation, a thrill of the unknown, coursed through him. The first notes that emanated from the phonograph's horn were faint, distant, like whispers carried on a wind that had blown across centuries. Then, they grew stronger, evolving into a haunting melody, both beautiful and unsettling. But it was the voice that sent chills down Elias's spine, a voice from beyond the grave, filled with a sorrow so profound, so palpable, that it seemed to seep into the very walls of the attic. Night after night, Elias found himself drawn back to the attic, captivated by the mournful voice on the record. He meticulously researched the history of the town, poring over old newspapers, interviewing elderly residents, desperate to uncover the story behind the voice that haunted his waking hours. His investigation led him to a tale whispered in hushed tones, a dark secret buried deep within the town's past. A tale of a young woman, her voice silenced tragically, her memory erased from the town's annals. As Elias delved deeper into the mystery, he noticed a change in the record's tune. The melancholic melody took on a more sinister tone, the sorrowful voice replaced by a chilling cacophony of whispers, of guttural growls, of screams that seemed to claw their way out of the very recording itself. The air grew heavy, the shadows in the attic seeming to writhe and twist, taking on menacing shapes that danced at the edge of his vision. Elias felt a presence, cold and malevolent, watching him from the darkness. His once comforting sanctuary had transformed into a prison of fear, the air thick with unseen menace. One night, as Elias sat listening to the record, now a symphony of horror, he felt a cold breath on the back of his neck. Turning slowly, his blood turning to ice in his veins, he saw her. A spectral figure, her eyes burning with an eerie light, her voice, a chilling echo of the one that haunted the record, whispered a single bone-chilling word. Historian, silence. Elias stumbled back, knocking over the phonograph, the needle scratching across the record's surface, the horrific sounds abruptly cut short. The spectral figure lunged, her ethereal hand reaching out, her touch sending a wave of icy terror through Elias's body.
The antique mirror, its ornate silver frame tarnished with age, held a strange allure. It stood as a centerpiece in the grand hallway of our newly purchased Victorian home. Its polished surface reflected not just our excited faces, but also the weight of the house's long and storied past.
Amelia and David, a young couple brimming with dreams, had dismissed the rumors surrounding the mirror as mere superstition, tales spun to spook those unfamiliar with the home's history. Little did they know, the mirror was a portal, a conduit to a realm beyond our own, and it was about to reveal its secrets.
It began subtly, fleeting glimpses of figures in the mirror's reflection, gone as quickly as they appeared. A chill down our spines when we walked past the mirror, even on the warmest of days. The feeling of being watched, of unseen eyes observing our every move.
Amelia, more attuned to the supernatural, felt it first. A growing unease, a sense of dread that seemed to emanate from the mirror itself. She shared her concerns with David, but he dismissed them as an overactive imagination, the product of stress from their recent move.
One night, as I lay in bed, unable to shake the feeling of unease, I saw it. A face in the mirror, pale and gaunt, staring back at me with an expression of unfathomable sadness. I sat up in bed, my heart pounding in my chest, but the face was gone. David, awakened by my gasp, tried to calm me, but the seed of fear had been planted.
As the days turned into nights, the occurrences grew increasingly disturbing. Objects moved on their own, seemingly guided by unseen hands. Whispers echoed through the halls at night, whispering their names, their voices filled with an unnerving blend of sorrow and anger. The faces in the mirror became more frequent, more distinct. A procession of souls trapped within the mirror's depths, their eyes pleading for help, their expressions etched with a terror that sent shivers down Amelia and David's spines.
Driven by a desperate need to understand, I began researching the history of the house. I uncovered a tragic tale of the previous owners, a family torn apart by greed, their souls bound to the mirror, their anguish echoing through time. The mirror, I learned, was not just a reflection of the physical world, but also a conduit to the spectral realm, a prison for tormented souls unable to find peace.
Now, aware of the dark secret that clung to their home, Amelia and David found themselves caught in a terrifying game of cat and mouse, with the spirits trapped within the mirror. Each reflection was a plea for help, a desperate attempt to right the wrongs of the past. But as the spirits grew stronger, their pleas turned to demands, their sorrow morphing into a chilling rage. The mirror, once a source of fascination, had become a terrifying reminder of the darkness that lingered within their home, a chilling testament to the enduring power of the supernatural.
The morgue, with its sterile walls and the ever-present scent of disinfectant, was a place that whispered of mortality, a silent testament to the fleeting nature of life. Thomas, a young medical student working the night shift, had always considered himself a rationalist, a man of science who scoffed at tales of the supernatural. But the morgue, shrouded in an eerie silence, had a way of challenging even the most deeply held beliefs.
The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting long, sterile shadows that danced with the flickering of the old analog clock on the wall. Thomas, seated at his desk, tried to focus on his textbook, but the silence, broken only by the whirring of the refrigeration unit, was unnerving. He glanced up at the rows of steel drawers lining the walls, each one containing a story, a life lived and lost, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he was not alone.
It started with subtle things. The faint scent of formaldehyde, usually ever present, seemed to intensify whenever I was near a specific drawer. The drawer containing the body of an elderly woman who had died in her sleep, her face frozen in an expression of serene peace. I'd find the drawer slightly ajar, even though I distinctly remembered closing it. Then, the sounds began. Soft, shuffling noises coming from the refrigerated room where the bodies were stored. I'd cautiously investigate, my heart pounding in my chest, but find nothing amiss.
The logic in him screamed that it was his imagination, the product of spending long solitary nights surrounded by the deceased. But deep down, a primal fear began to take root. One night, as Thomas made his rounds, he noticed something that sent a chill down his spine. The drawer containing the elderly woman's body was open, and her body, which he could have sworn had been lying peacefully on its back, was now turned, her sightless eyes staring directly at him.
I quickly switched on the overhead light, my hand trembling, but the body was back in its original position. I tried to rationalize it, but the image of the woman's vacant eyes staring at me lingered, burned into my mind. Panic welled up inside me, a cold dread gripping my heart. I was not alone. The realization hit me like a physical blow. The stories, the whispers I dismissed as mere superstition now echoed in my ears, taking on a terrifying new meaning.
The morgue, a place where the veil between life and death was thinnest, was a beacon for entities seeking to cross over, and he was caught in the middle. He considered fleeing, abandoning his post, but something held him back. A morbid curiosity, perhaps, or maybe a sense of duty to the silent inhabitants of this cold, sterile world. As he continued his rounds, he felt a cold spot near the elderly woman's drawer, a sudden drop in temperature that sent shivers down his spine.
I turned to face the drawer, my breath catching in my throat. The drawer slowly slid open, revealing the woman's body, now sitting upright, her eyes wide open, staring at me with an intensity that made my blood run cold.
As the echoes of these chilling tales fade into the night, remember that the line between reality and nightmare is often blurred. The shadows hold secrets, and sometimes it's the unseen that we should fear the most. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more chilling tales. Share your thoughts on these spine-chilling encounters in the comments below, and let us know which story left you with the most chills. Stay safe, and remember, sometimes the scariest things are the ones we can't see.